Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and we got ourselves a mighty amount of leaks to go through for Bethesda. If you followed this company for as long as I have, which has been over a decade, you know that this is like Fort Knox. It's locked down tight. There's nothing breaking through this bad boy. But with Bethesda, it's almost looking like a coordinated attack, as we have a plethora of leaks to go through in today's video. Many fake, some looking somewhat legitimate. And it's interesting because it's still April at the time of recording this. We're not in the May and June season where leaks really pick up and it becomes hard to tell what's real, what's fake. And a lot of people just tap out and say, you know what? I'll see you at the summer showcases. We'll find out what's real and fake then. But I thought the time has come for MrDaddyPlays to come out of hiding, sit everyone down, go through everything that's happening in our lovely little industry with Bethesda, and talk about what's real, what's fake, how this all happened. I did a whole spiel at the end of my Starfield video, but that wasn't the topic of the video. So I want to do it here today because a lot more new leaks have cropped up. I want to start off with one that's looking a little more legitimate, and it's fascinating how this is happening right here, right now. So over on Reddit, there was a post for a leaked interview with Todd Howard about Starfield's music and soundtrack. I'm going to sound a little creepy here. I don't care. I've listened to everything Todd Howard has ever put out in an interview. When I heard this interview clip, I went, I did not hear this at all. He's talking about Starfield, about the music creation, and it's echoing a similar sentiment that was shared in Volume 3 of Into the Starfield, where Mark Lambert as well as Einan Zur both sat down to talk about the music in Starfield, and they mentioned how they begin with the main theme and build off of that. And Todd Howard was saying much of that. And at one point, you hear Jeff Keighley's voice. It sounds just like him. I couldn't find any interviews, any Twitter space archives, anything of Todd and Jeff sitting down talking about Starfield and the music that's made there. The speculation right now is that this was a leaked piece of content from the Summer Games Fest, where we will undoubtedly be hearing more about Starfield around this time period. What's interesting, if you really want to galaxy brain this, and you can hear the clip over on Reddit if you'd like. I don't want to mess around with leaked files at all and play them here on my channel. But if you go over to Reddit and you see the poster for this, it's user Todd Field, June 12th. I don't know if someone's trying to tell us something, but when they got their hands on this interview, which we have not heard, and a lot of people went to IGN Unfiltered, and Todd does talk about the music in Starfield there, but it's completely different. You can even tell in the audio quality, it's completely different. So this is an unreleased interview. It could have been scrapped from the same interview, but again, that's where you hear Jeff Keighley and you go, no, it's not. So this is something, as far as I'm aware, entirely brand new. Then you look at the user, you look at the date, the window for the Summer Games Fest, and you look at when June 12th is, a Sunday. Xbox loves the Sunday, Monday game showcases. And plot twist, Maddie from the editing room here. I recorded this video a couple of days ago, and guess what was announced after recording this when we saw the user Todd Field June 12th? That's right, the Xbox Bethesda showcase for 2022 was confirmed for, you guessed it, June 12th. So this is definitely a leak that we want to monitor, because it's possible that this user may have more information about the Xbox showcase, may have more information about Starfield. So just keep an eye out on this. When checking the profile, I didn't see anything new, but still pretty interesting to see an actual legit Bethesda leak. But at the root, the fact of it all is that this is a leaked interview clip with Jeff Keighley with no interview to attach it to. Now, we move into a really strange bit of territory. In my Starfield video, I talked about a leak. I put leak in quotes because it was Skullsy who has been honestly getting slandered out here. I saw a lot of people on Reddit calling him a fake, claiming to be an insider, when literally in the tweets that cite the information we're going to talk about the Elder Scrolls 6, about Roundhouse Studios, so on and so forth, he says, none of this is inside information. All of this is sketchy. I'm just putting out there what I've been told for people to do more investigations. So I just want to put it out there again, as I put in the Starfield video. I don't mind holding people accountable, but when someone's getting slandered who is a friend of mine, it's like, no. We're not going to do that. We're going to pretend that he actually said that this was rooted in fact, that this was a verifiable source. So what has happened is, since then, Jason Schreier has put out over on Reset Era that he can confirm that Heavy 008 was legit. We'll talk about that in a mere moment. But underneath that, he says, I texted that Skullsy list of bullet points to a source who would know, and they responded, bullshit. And that Skullsy has also been wrong in the past, like most Bethesda insiders who were spreading misinformation about Starfield's release date, and that there are, at least in a random bit of info here, at least 2 Warcraft mobile games in development, one Pokemon Go, another is Clashish. Heard good things about both. Why is this important to bring up? Because, again, there was this laundry list of bullet points from Skullsy about potential information that other insiders were coming out and saying, oh yeah, like this is verifiable, this lines up with what I have heard. And I shared in my Starfield video that someone had come to me, shared this exact list of info about a month ago. And in particular with the Mandalorian, it was about a couple of days ago, because that was another mentioned rumor. And I didn't run with it because I said, I can't verify who you are, how you got this info. Here's what happened. I spent almost a full day and a half investigating, speaking to people, trying to find out more. Spoke to Nick Baker of Xbox Era, spoke to Skullsy, spoke to Jeff Grubb, spoke to Jez Corden. This has been, again, something I've been working on for a month, trying to figure out, is this true? Because when someone comes to me and goes, hey, Mandalorian game from ZeniMax Online Studios, I'm like, that's so weird, it could almost work. Is this true? What's happened here is someone collected information that seemed verifiable. I've seen the thing that they were given to make it seem verifiable. And from there, they took that information and brought it to people like myself, Skullsy, Nick Baker, many other industry insiders, the gaming leaks and rumors, Reddit page, moderators, everyone has been privy to this information, but no one could go out and verify it. And then other people, this is where the spider web happens, other people have gone out to their respective sources and have claimed that some of this corroborates what they've heard from different sources. But where it all originates from is one anonymous, unknown source who was handed secondhand information and then took that information and brought it to people like myself. And that's where you get a lot of the confusion. Now, what's interesting, again, is what I brought up in my Starfield video. I want to bring it up here while I have your attention, is that a lot of these rumors, like Elder Scrolls 6 and Hammerfell, like Roundhouse working on a PvPvE game, like a Quake reboot being in development, a lot of this has been public information found on job listings, LinkedIn pages that you can find all across the internet, as I showed in that Starfield video, that makes it where these educated guesses are becoming sources. And that's something we really want to avoid. But with that cleaned up, I want to move into a leak that's looking more legit, that when we first read it earlier on, seemed like complete BS and someone committing career suicide, and it looks like that actually may be the case. So going back to that Jason Schreier post over on Reset Era, we saw him say, I can confirm that Heavy 008 was legit. Can't necessarily back up everything they said, but they were definitely who they said they were. Hope the lawyers aren't going after them. Now, what you'll notice is I have one thing that Heavy 008 actually did say that is screen grabbed in its full text, and the rest are in responses to him in threads over on Reset Era. That's because after all of this, when Jason Schreier came outside, Heavy 008 went into hiding, deleted everything, can't even go to his profile, which could add to some legitimacy to it. But the point being is that Heavy 008 says right here that Bethesda Game Studios was a cool, solid place to work. Very secure. The engine is a piece of crap, though. Todd is a charismatic guy for sure. Starfield is looking good. Weekly Thursday playtest since the beginning of the year. More and more stuff coming online. Shooting feels all right. Flying is terrible at the moment, in my opinion, just not fun to me. Lighting and stuff is looking better and better, though. Not on the level of Horizon Forbidden West or anything like that, but still a good-looking game. In the terms of if it will ship on time, well, they will try, that's for sure. They'll cut what they need to, etc. They have an overabundance of content, probably too much, so that's not an issue. Finding the fun and, of course, bug fixing is the big thing. It's a sexy date, though, and you only get one of those. Beta is in this summer. That's when the picture will truly become clear. A lot of people thought this meant that like a beta would be released in the summer to the public. I think this means that the game will enter the beta stage of development. However, when people saw this, they're like, who is this guy? It turns out he was a contracted character artist at Bethesda and that his NDA had reportedly expired. We'll talk more about what he's had to say here because, again, Jason Schreier is saying he is who he says he is. He can't back up what's being said here, but I think it's at least worth taking a look at and combing through. Because then he says, I just finished my last week at Bethesda Game Studios last Friday. Most of this is nonsense. Bethesda Game Studios Dallas was working on Spy Team before getting put on Starfield. It was a pet project of Todd's and was just being prototyped. He also says he's not under NDA anymore. I don't work there anymore. How can you have a space game without flying ships? If a mod wants to verify this info, I still think I have videos of the playthroughs, which he has now refused to share, apparently, as the mods dug deeper into it. He says he just quit Bethesda Game Studios, so he can say that he did a playtest last October, I think it was, pretty early blockout state, and was running at like 15 FPS. This was on a 2080, but the pieces were there. Felt like an arcane title. And people have actually researched Heavy 88 and found out that he works at Code Blue Games, where it does claim on the studio page that this is a video game startup founded by alumni from Disney, Sony, and Bethesda, devoted to push the bounds of small team development. Again, when you combine that with going dark, with what Jason Schreier said, you can at least entertain it. I'm not saying with any of this stuff out here, outside of the interview at the beginning of the video, I'm not saying any of this you gotta bite onto, sink your teeth into, but I think this might be the one worth monitoring and entertaining here. Just another editor's room note here. Keep in mind that I do think that this person, if you were to give me like a bullshit meter, I'd probably say like 85 to 15. That's why I'm mentioning entertaining it. Like, we can talk about it, but overall, the way that they described how NDAs work, does not fly with me. You don't just sign one and when you leave, they're like, okay, you're free. It's like an indefinite contract signed when you join, and it keeps going even after you leave. And when you break it, I mean, you can do what he did and just spill all the beans, but you're going to pay the price legally. So I just wanted to throw it out there that what this person says either shows complete negligence for the NDA because of the way they sourced when they left, when they worked there. They literally put a finger right on everything about them that made it insanely easy for Bethesda to track them, provided it's true. So either this person is, I gotta be real, like really dumb, or they just don't care at all. And it seems like they might care somewhat if they deleted everything, but again, 85-15% bullshit meter on this one. Now, what's mentioned is that the shooting's solid. What's mentioned here is the flying is terrible, but the game looks pretty good. All stuff that we kind of expected. And this goes back into the conversation I was having about the leaks with Starfield and the way that they're being reported, which I think is somewhat problematic, is here's another example of circumstantial evidence occurring and then someone coming out afterwards and being like, I got the leak, baby. Here's what's actually happening. And even though Heavy 008 is somewhat verifiable, let's go back to Volume 3 of Into the Starfield. There's Mark Lambert. There's Einon Zur. And they're talking about at the 5-minute mark, this right here. Take a listen to what Mark Lambert had to say about exploration in Starfield.
Have control over how the player chooses to experience the game. Our sense of scale had to be totally readjusted in making a game on a planetary surface as we've always done before, and now where you have these very vast distances against this black starry background.
Right there, he practically confirms without directly saying like this is in Starfield, but he says we always did planetary stuff, but beyond that, the starry dark background, space exploration. And a lot of people were like, whoa, flying confirmed, this leak is awesome. But the reality is that there was info out there directly suggesting, practically confirming that straight from Bethesda Game Studios' mouth. And that's what a lot of these leaks have been, straight from the horse's mouth, then posted by some anonymous leaker with light contextual details that again don't speak on an authoritative level as someone who has been playtesting since October what the actual game looks and feels like. There are development statements here that do corroborate someone who would work on video games. Like, I don't think the general consumer is familiar with a blockout state. It's effectively building the environments, using collision detection, making sure that you can walk on things before actually changing the textures to match the artistic look you are going for, if you will. Not the most elegant way of explaining it, but enough to say you can walk on the surfaces of certain areas and you'll change how they look and decorate it later on. To say that they were in a blockout state in October, I mean, that would make sense for a game of potentially its scale. To say that they would have it fully decorated and arted up within a year for a game as big as Starfield, from my experience, I have a tough time buying into that. Granted, I work on a much smaller team, but all I can say for my own game is the blocking out has been done in a lot of ways for a particular slice of the game, and we're decorating that slice of the game now. So we're pretty early in development. Starfield is potentially deep in development. Again, it's where someone like me looks at that and goes, look, I'm not going to claim to be a complete expert on game development. I'm just trying to relay information as I learn it to all of you. But to me, again, very shaky, but at least something worth entertaining. overall, my suggestion, the reason I'm really making this video is, you notice I'm getting into a lot of passion rants here, is, look, I love different avenues of information. I really fight for that type of stuff. I don't like that, you know, I'm friends with, for example, Jeff Grubb, but I don't like that the pipelines have been like Grubb, Schreier for a long while. I like when we see like a Tom Henderson getting involved. I like when we see names that have been established for a while, Tom Warren, get out there and start sharing information and break up the pipelines. I'm all for communication. I'm all for information just being shared, being put out there. I've done it myself. That's okay. It's not the leaker's fault in the case of Scholzy, like him just putting out there, like, here's the information I heard. It's not their fault if someone takes that information and runs with it like it's gospel and says like, oh, this is official fact and information. I can't speak to other leaks that Scholzy's done. I haven't paid close attention to them. If he's said those are fact and they ended up being wrong. But in the case of this one, this is a situation where the internet really took information that was clearly stated at the beginning and end of a thread. Don't take this and run away with it like it's fact. And they did so anyway. At that point, who do you blame? But that's kind of the state of leaks in our industry. They're not in a good spot because we do have small amounts of pipelines that are accurate, but we're not building out from those pipelines with branching leakers because everyone's claiming ownership of leaks and being very protective of their work, and they want their scoop. That's why, on a separate note, I don't build my career off this bullshit at all, man. It's just too spotty. People get way too like violent over it. I just like to report what I hear based off physical evidence I see, kind of move on with my day, and stick to talking about games and making them. That's all I want to do. It's why this leak game, it's messy, it's bullshit. I don't like it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got to share in today's video. Bethesda leaks, out of control, most certainly. What do you think about all of them? In the comments down below, please do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.